Alright, so let's show you what all we've done since the last video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe. Thank you for your comments, everything that you got going on. If you are just tuning back in, we have a 97 F250 HD that we are trying to restore, trying to paint, trying to get everything done on, trying to get it done for a customer who lives out of state, and we're trying to communicate via email, text, and phone conversations so that we can get things done exactly the way that he wants it done. So let me catch you up to speed so far. So far, we've removed the bed. As you can see here, we removed it completely. It's laying over there on the ground. I still have to pull the wiring harness off of the back of it, but we have coated the frame with Por 15, which was a rust encapsulating and rust converting property brushable coating that I've put on this thing. Now, I didn't do it on top of the fuel tank because that wasn't part of what we had discussed. I did it strictly to the frame itself, and as you can see, it looks 100% better. Now, don't worry about these leaf springs because all of that, along with the perches and everything else, are going to be changed when he does the lift kit. Now, I even went as far as to go all the way up underneath. And as you can see, we did the entirety of the frame, front to back, inside and out, what we could reach. Even did the fuel tank cover, so that way it's got it. And then we had some spots up here that were rusted through on the floorboard itself, where your feet go. They hadn't quite rusted through all the way yet, but I wanted to ensure that they would last a little bit longer, and so I coated those as well. And so currently we were working on the radiator support. So as you remember from the last time, this radiator right here had a hole, significant hole inside of it. And so I can't leave that for my customer because I wouldn't want it on my truck that way. So I told him I wouldn't do it to his truck. So currently we have sandblasted. Pops was nice enough to sandblast the radiator support for me. I've got it inside the shop trying to patch some material on it in about the same location, but it wasn't quite as bad as what the original radiator support was. So why don't you follow along with me as I make that panel from scratch, beat it by hand, and try and make it match the original panel as best as I can, and see if we can't cut it out and get it welded in. And as you can see, we've got the radiator core support completely stripped, completely sandblasted, and I've coated it with a zinc phosphate coating to ensure maximum rust removal and stability going forward from this point. So let me show you what I've got. So right here in this location, right here, like I said, basically the same area that it was on the original radiator support. It's starting to rust through right here around this. The original radiator support had this piece right in here ate out, but you can see this one here is actually getting ate out. It is in the process of being ate out. Some of it has already been removed, but there are a couple other places on this radiator support. This is the main one of concern to me. And so what I've done is I have taken a piece of paper, a sheet of paper, and I've drawn a template on it. Basically, I matched it up to the holes down here, matched it up to what I need to do. There's a piece on front that actually rolls around and welds to the front of this. So that's what that little tab is sticking off there. So what I did is I managed to match it up. And as you can see on this piece of paper, I have dashed lines on here as well. The dashed lines simply indicate where my roll is going to be, where that downturn of that piece of metal will be. And then I also have a lip up here that goes back flat. Now, my main concern is getting these indention pieces here fixed properly for structural support. Granted, there's nothing that really goes on that particular area, but at the same time, I don't want it just flopping around and flimsy. So by shaping a piece of metal, now it looks nasty, it looks gnarly, you see all my hammer marks on it, but I was able to actually get, if you can see that, and it is all kind of messed up right now, but I have the lip that is actually this lip here. As you can see, this lip right here, as it goes up, I'm trying to recreate that. And so this piece here, in essence, is trying to recreate that lip. Now I've got another line on here. As you can see, it pretty well matches up to the thicker part of the frame support there. But the line that's right here is actually the lines for these indentions, which are going to give it structural stability. It's going to be a lot of beating, a lot of banging, but we're going to see if we can get this piece of metal in shape and see if we can get it to function the way that this one was originally designed to do, and cut this one out and weld this one in. I'm of the type that I would try and use just about anything to my advantage that I have to be able to shape this piece of material. And so I have used this part of the support itself to actually get the rounded edge for the inside curve of this piece. In order to get the outside curve and the lip up for this, I've actually had to use a variety of different hammers and dollies to try and get that. But I'm going to try and knock some of the structural support back into this piece here to see if we can get it to match up a little bit better. All right, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind a little bit more of this out. That way I can actually get it to fit in behind the structural support there. So just bear with me and let me get this ground just a little bit. All right, so to me, That's looking a little bit better. Let me get you into where you can see. So like I said, I can basically tuck this back in behind this piece here. And so this piece here is welded all the way down back into here. It's just basically an external support that wraps around the rest of this radiator support. So the metal itself is actually behind this little tab here, this plate. And so once I get, and what's holding this off is this tab down here at the bottom, like I said, that's got to wrap around. So I'm going to end up having to cut this off so that I can get this to wrap around. What I may actually end up doing in the long run, and I think this is probably going to work for the best, is I may actually come down and cut this straight right here and then simply weld this plate here back on once I get this plate welded in place and tacked in place from the back side of this radiator support. But like I was saying before, on this is this tab that I was talking about that comes over, and it's simply a part of all of this here that goes back around that surrounds this piece. So what I'm trying to do is cut this loose right here, unfold it and get it out of the way. But like I was telling you, I may be better off just going ahead and cutting this straight down, and that way this whole piece is out of the way, and then I can weld it back on in just a little bit. So like I said, you can see that I cut it off. You can see that I cut this piece right here off. This piece here. And like I said, I can simply weld it back on where it was at, or I can make me another piece out of this piece here. You can really see how whenever you're dealing with rust in a restoration project, it can snowball very easily depending on how much you want to do to it. And so I think for this particular area, this is probably just about all that I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I need to shape this just a little bit more here in the crease, right in here, and get this crease actually a little bit better than what it is, so that it matches up to this original panel a little bit better. And then I'll probably come back in here and cut right along here, just to the inside of this extra strength point here. I'll cut just to the inside and come all the way to the edge of it. And as you can see, there's more than enough metal here to accommodate for cutting that portion out. I think that'll fit rather nicely. Alright, you can see that I got the whole panel off, and so I still have to make my holes here, but I'll transfer those over to this panel whenever I get it tacked on, and that way, like I say, you can see kind of what we got going on. You can see that I'm not going to use everything on this panel here, but what I've got and what you can see is pretty well stamped in what was originally in the other panel. Got it roughed in shape anyhow, and then once I get it actually tacked in place, I can go back and work these to smooth them out just a little bit more. But you can do it with hand tools. You don't have to have the expensive machines and the expensive equipment that you think you might have to have that everybody else tells you about. But yeah, so we'll keep plugging away and see what we can do with this. Sorry, I can hear everybody in the comments now. Why are you covering it up? I can't see it. Well, I'm left-handed, so that's what you have to deal with sometimes. So we got a little bit of cleanup work to do. This still needs to be bent in right here. It needs to go up higher. So probably try and work on that a little bit more and see if I can get it knocked down even higher. If I can't, then what I'll do is I'll end up coming back in and cutting it right here and then putting me a piece in to make that actual work better. Hopefully I won't have to do that, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm off just a little bit. So I'll bring you over here and let you see where I've actually made progress on some of it. See the jack? That's part of my hammer and dolly system. So yeah. Maybe. Let's see what it looks like. All right, I think I can work with that and make that work. I think. Need a little bit more trim up, and then we'll see if we can get it tacked in. All right, let's see if we can weld this thing, or at least get it tacked in place anyhow. Y'all still hanging in there? All right, now it looks like junk right now. It's flux core welding. I'll clean it up, and I promise you it's going to look a lot better whenever I get through with it. Again, I still have to cut my mounting holes here and here for the lower splash shield off of the tire, and I'll get that done. And then I also have to make this piece and weld this piece back on. So I'll come back whenever I've got all that done. Okay, so as you can see, I've still got to cut out this piece to wrap around here. I'm not going to do that tonight. It's a little bit late. I think I'm about ready to head to the house anyhow. But as you can see, it's very difficult, other than a couple hammer marks that you see here, it's very difficult to actually tell where I piece this together. And again, I've still got my holes here that I still have to cut out. I'll show you how to cut them out. This here still needs to be welded, but I need to get this piece on here, running down here and under first, and then I can weld this all up together as one. So I hope that helps you. I hope you like what you see. If you do, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. I'll talk to you on the next one. Later. Woo!